Hi, my name is Kevin St. John, and I am a business coach. So excited to share a soulful conversation today with Pearl.
Hello, sunshine, good to see you again. Had to walk out to let you back in. Stuck in a storm of a relationship. Lost my fire. Oh, and I forgot about me for way too long. But it's rolled on. Now there ain't no shade around here.
Successful Living, and we are back for another Soulful Self-Care Conversation. And for those of you who watch the show often or you listen, we don't have very many gentlemen on the show today, but today is an exception because I have my dear friend Kevin St. John, who I've met through an amazing group called the Moxie Group. And so we'll probably talk about that as well. So get your cup of tea, cup of coffee, whatever you have. Get a notebook because I'm sure you're going to want to take some notes. But joining me today is Kevin St. John, who is a business growth strategist and founder of Boomin Business Solutions. He's going to talk to us how he helps entrepreneurs scale profits, build structure, and achieve freedom through proven systems. Rooted in faith, family, fitness, and leadership, Kevin empowers business owners to think bigger, work smarter, and live with purpose and balance. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Pearl. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. And, I want everybody to know you're just down the road from me. You're like in Sarasota, right? You're like 45 minutes
Yeah,
or so away. And then our friend Amy is down there now too. So I think we need to do a
yeah.
meetup together.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. I think, yeah, she just got down. She's actually the next town over from me in
Oh,
Bradenton. So yeah, we're all pretty close.
yeah, we're really close. I'm so excited to have a great group of people around me. And so I just want to thank you for coming on. And Kevin was asking me, for all my listeners who've been around a while and those that are new, I don't have questions that I ask. I don't have padded. And if people want questions, I tell them I'm not a good fit for them to be on my show. So Kevin, I went and given the sneak peek at the questions. So I have one question, Kevin, we're going to kick off the show with. And that is, I want you to introduce us to younger Kevin. I want you to help the audience meet younger Kevin. Tell us what he was like growing up, what was life like, and how did it shape you to who you are today and what you're doing today. So take it away.
That is a great question. So yeah, so I was born and raised in Massachusetts. So my mom and dad, excuse me, they actually split up when I was probably about 2 years old. My father was an alcoholic, so she ended up leaving. So my mom raised me till right through till about 12. And then my father actually came back. He had sobered up, got clean, got everything ready to go. So he got back in my life, which was fantastic. So we have a really good relationship now. But yeah, so I went to private school, Catholic school, from K through 12. After that, I went to some college. I worked, and then I got into law enforcement. So I was a police officer for a while, and then I worked for the Department of Corrections as well. And then from there, I got into sales and all kinds of different insurances, life insurance, payroll, HR, and things of that nature. So, but growing up was pretty great. Like I said, I had a good childhood. I have an older sister. She's 4 years older than me. She's still up in Massachusetts, and of course, I'm down here in Florida. My parents are down here in Florida as well. But yeah, I had a pretty good childhood. I had a great group of friends, good support system. It was good, but a lot of stuff that motivated me to do what I do today is there was a lot of lack growing up as far as income and just watching my mother struggle for several years. She was a waitress and then a restaurant manager. My grandmother was pretty involved in that as well, but there was definitely, it was a different time back then. And again, of course they did the best they could, or she did the best she could. But yeah, we never wanted for anything, but things were tough. And I always said, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to, struggle like that and just, day to day and live day to day or paycheck to paycheck, whatever it may be. So, just doing that and just growing up around a good group of people, a good group of friends, some good influencers over the earlier years in my life just set me off into the direction that I went to. Even since I was a little kid, I always wanted to be a police officer and do that route. So I did end up becoming a police officer at 21 years old. So pretty young. What I do now is drastically different than that, but it definitely taught me a lot of discipline, um, you know, uh, processes and things of that nature. So it was a really, really good experience. Would definitely help shape where I am today. Fitness is a huge part of my journey. I've been, training since I was 16 years old. It's a very big part of life. I would have to say right now, which care to say I'm in the best shape because I really dialed in my diet and all that stuff. Really cut out all sugars. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do any of that stuff. So, really, and as we get older, you got to really take care of yourself. And I really feel that as you take care, if you take care of yourself personally, mentally, physical, faith, whatever it is that you believe in, if you're living in each of those buckets, things are going to follow. Your business is going to develop. Things are going to happen. But if you're not right internally, whether it's physical health and mental health, then that can create a lot of challenges that can spill over into other areas of your life. So always start with yourself, take care of yourself, take care of your body. You only get one, and that's really what I believe in.
I love that. That's so thank you for letting us meet younger you. I appreciate that. That's always a
Sure.
fun question to see. And we all come from different backgrounds. I had a guest on the show, and he actually a couple weeks ago he's on Bill, and he talked about how our normal is our normal. Our normal growing up is going to be different than somebody else's, but that's our normal. Like there's no true normal other than our own that we grew up in, and it was really powerful how he shared that. And I thought that's always sort of stuck with me. And like you talked about how your mom, at you're 2 years old, had to make the tough decision to be like, I need to create that safe space, even though she knew it's going to be hard, even though she knew she's going to make some tough choices, which goes to say that we have to make tough choices sometimes in our lives, even when it comes to family units, marriage, and all that, for our own mental health. Like you were saying at the end there, to create that full bucket list of what's our family, faith, and health look like. And so it's so important. And I love that your dad came back. Like it's a great story of recovery, because I think oftentimes I've got a couple of friends who've gone through recovery, and I watch them where they think they're never going to be able to completely recover, and to see that full story circle come back, especially at 12 years old, when that's like a really big heavy time, that
Oh
you're
yes,
shaping. That's that those teenagers. I'm sure your mom was like probably very glad she had some assistance at that point in life, although I think you're probably
absolutely.
a good kid anyways, but I don't think she's got to worry about you. But still having that male influence, and it being your dad, and watching like what he went through to some of the toughest thing he had to go through to be able to say, I can do it. And if I can do this, you can do anything, as a lesson. I think as a child, we get to watch and learn from. But, and the other part I wrote down is how they shape us, how, what we go through shapes us, our choices we make, and how that brings us forward. I mean, part of my story is I had to divorce my parents. I was a daddy's girl. My dad did 3 tours in Vietnam. When he came home one time from the war, I mean, he had a mustache. He had to shave his mustache because I didn't believe it was him as a little girl. But as they got older, and I adopted, our oldest son, and I had my younger son Nate. I never thought my dad would turn into the person he turned into. He became racist towards our oldest son we adopted, was mixed race. And then my mom, as her mental health changed and her getting older, and they divorced after 43 years of marriage, became unsafe for me and my family to be around. So I was like, you know what? This is not what I'm supposed to allow in my world, and this is not behavior I want to allow. And I have a blessing that I met my husband at 19 years old. So my mother and father-in-law, it was so cool to be able to say they were the two people in my life that showed me what parental love really looked like. And it's, I forgive my parents. It's not like it, part of it is their fault, but it's also how they were brought up and how choices they made at a young age. I mean, they ran away at 17 and 18 years old to Tijuana and got married, so they were very young when they
Okay.
when they had us. But it's like I still give forgiveness because that's how I have to live my life. It's not for me to decide, what should happen to them, but it's for me to decide what I allow in my world. And that's what shaped me today. And that's what shaped how I learned to set boundaries and learn to overcome people pleasing and become, unfortunately, it did cause me to do lots of people pleasing, but to become the person I am today, to understand that I have to put self first so that I can overflow my cup and give what I want to give from the overflow. So I'm glad you helped us to remember that. And I when you said police officer, I didn't know that part about you. When we talked before, I didn't know that part about you, and I could see that it's like that tough guy. But then when you said you were in Department of Corrections, like, oh yeah, I could just see that all over. But I think
Yeah.
that's really cool. And what you do today is and we're going to talk about what you do. Is I think what's awesome about that is you talk about the lack. You help businesses like people like myself that learn that if we do the right things for our lives and for our business, we can have abundance. And so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what it is that you do, and how you how you help others and entrepreneurs. So let us know a little bit about what you do and why you do what you do.
Sure. Yeah. So what we do is, again, I work with small, mid-sized businesses. I've worked with chiropractors, massage therapists, realtors, manufacturing companies. A lot of companies that I do work with that tend to really need a lot of assistance too, are really trades industry, home service industries, especially down here in Florida. I mean, it's 20, landscaping is a, year-round thing, and there's competition everywhere. And a lot of times people will get into business because they do something that they really like. It's a passion of theirs. Let's take a HVAC company. Somebody works for them for a while. They're really good at what they do. They say, "Hey, I want to start my own business." That's great, and they start at why? Time, money, and freedom. I think that's why we all want to do it. But what happens in a lot of the trades industries and other industries as well is that time, money, and freedom go away, and it becomes a job that many a times that their employees are making more than they are. And it's one of those things where you're not working your 8 or 9 hours a day, you're working 15, 17 hours a day for a multitude of reasons. They'll come out, and they grow pretty quickly, right? They join a networking group, a BNI, for example, or the local chamber of commerce. They have friends and family and word of mouth. So all of a sudden, they're really good at, installing a AC unit, for example, and doing that, but maybe running a crew, or whatever. But then all of a sudden, you start getting 250,000, 500,000, 750,000. A lot more problems. It's not, as you make more money, there's more issues. You're having to start to hire and retain, find those quality people that show up for work, try to create leaders, to help. So your phone's not ringing 24/7. Um, you have payroll and taxes and compliance and HR and SOPs. And then a lot of times, they don't maybe as crazy as it sounds, but misunderstood pricing is a huge thing. They'll start discounting, they're killing their net profit margins, their profits are leaking through the cracks. I mean, you're talking a business that starts to get larger, that's tens of thousands of dollars a year. They don't have systems in place that can help them, that they essentially, a lot of times, not, and again, not everybody, but essentially a lot of them built a house on sand, right? They didn't build that solid foundation, and they're doing all that. So they're trying to get quotes out. They're missing calls. They're missing jobs. They're not, they don't have a good presence on Google, or they're not using their social media correctly. There's a lot of different things that go into play to make that successful business. So we have just in my whole realm of working with small businesses for years, and just seeing all the hats that they have to wear. And it's very challenging. So we come in, and every business, what we do is not a cookie cutter system. Okay, it's where they are today, where they're going, where they want to go. What's their exit strategy? What's going to happen? Where do they want to be in 5 years? Is your net profit margins at 10%? We want to get those to 20, 30%. When somebody comes in to eventually purchase that business, they want to see a turnkey type of a operation. They're coming in, and they have the owner's not there. They don't have to be there. That it's running. It's creating profit. There's great systems in place, and that's what they're looking for. And do you want to sell that business at a 2 or 3% multiplier, or a 7, 8, or 9% multiplier? That's a big difference. And when you're coming in, and nobody wants to come in and see a business with holes in it, and all that. So what we do is we help put systems in place. And one of the things that we use that's very interactive with our clients, it's profit acceleration software. So you're going to hear me talk about profit a lot, profit acceleration. Revenue is super important, but we always say revenue feeds your ego, profit will feed your family, right? It's what you're taking home every day. And we start out with, again, every business is different in their journey or where they are. So we'll come in, and we do it. It's called a Jumpstart 12. And that's 12 key areas of business that we kind of focus on, from pricing, digital marketing, so I have a market dominating position, upsells, cross sells, joint ventures, things of that nature, that we're kind of coming in and asking where they are today. We start with their revenue, and their net profit margins, their gross profit margins, and really dig in, right, and find out where they're at in the software. it's got, if you're a techie at all, it's got 490 million weighted algorithmic sequences, uses a lot of AI. It's been around for 20 years, but it's constantly updated almost daily. They're doing stuff to it. So it's, there's an online academy for them. They can do stuff that we assign. So it's very interactive with them. But at the end of the day, based on what they tell us in this assessment is, okay, here's where I am. And it's not about, there's no magic bullet. You're not going to hire an ad agency and suddenly have leads all over the place or qualified leads. It's small incremental changes in several areas of the business that produces compounding effect. Okay, so at the end of that hour or hour and a half assessment, let's say, they get a 17-page roadmap or blueprint, if you will, exactly where they are, what they need to implement first, how long it's going to take, and they have a roadmap, right? It's a GPS to where they want to go. So it's very proprietary. I think I'm one of probably 850 coaches in 39 countries who have this. So it's pretty proprietary and unique to us. So with that being said, every time I sit with a business owner, they're like, wow, I never thought of that. Well, that's what it's designed to do. Where we come in and see your blind spots and help you make those adjustments and put those systems. Some of them are easy fixes, and they're like, well, how much do I have to spend in other software? Well, we're going to work on what you have already, and then we're not going to make recommendations if it's going to make you profitable, right? So a lot of reading P&Ls, making sure you understand them, leveraging that P&L. The biggest thing is, what can we do to increase our profits in other areas of the business without spending money, right? What's going to drop right to your bottom line? So that's kind of what, in a nutshell, what we do. And, it really does, it's life-changing money for business owners. So you get that time, money, and freedom back. So the whole goal is, hey, listen, and you've heard it before, instead of working in your business, let's work on your business and go from there. Let's take you from a technician to a true entrepreneur, a business owner. So yeah, that's what we
Yeah.
do.
And I was sitting here, I'm like, this is why I want you on here, because, we talk about self-care so much from a personal standpoint, but we also need to talk about the self-care of our business, because like you said, we need to work, like the in and on, the whole phrase of that. We've got to, I like what you said, if you build it on a sand, it's not going to have a strong foundation. So you've got to build that strong foundation. Just like in our lives, we have to build a strong foundation and make sure we're taking care of ourselves. And like you said earlier, when we met little Kevin, those pieces of that bucket, if those aren't all working together, your foundation, even in your business, is not going to be strong. And so that's why it's important to have systems in place, to put them in place. It's kind of funny you're talking about systems, because that was one of the things I just, before I met you guys, I started doing an audit of all the different systems I have. And I realized a system that I was sold, that I bought into with the promise that something was coming, never came, and therefore it's cost me more in the long run. And so I've had to do a whole shift, and I did the self-care audit on my business, is what I called it. And so, like what you said, like having the right support, having the right systems, it's going to give you, you said at the beginning, like time, money, and freedom. We think going into business, oh, we're going to start a business because I'll have time, money, and freedom. But like you said, you end up working all these hours, and you gave a great description of landscaper, because it reminded me of the young man that we had. He came and started his business, and we fired our landscaper. We hired him, and we're like, listen, we know plenty of people in our neighborhood that are going to fire the same guy we have. Are you prepared? And unfortunately, he wasn't prepared, but
Mm-hmm.
he brought on so much business that he actually turned it over really quick and sold it. So I don't
Yeah.
know how he did or didn't do, but because he wasn't prepared, he was on the sand. He didn't have the foundation in place. And so, I don't know that he's 7 to 8 multiplied it like we were talking here, but really, as you're talking, I was like, this is all about self-care for your business and putting things in place, because when they're not running, you can't show up for your customers the way that you want to, because you're trying to fix all the stuff in the back end, which is not why you start your business anyways. You start your business for what the passion and joy is. And if I want to coach women to overcome people pleasing, if I am taking care of emails, you've heard us talk at our group about my friend Monty, who's a great
Mm-hmm.
VA. I hired her. I'm like, you know what? My time is valuable. Let me have you do my emails, and then my newsletter. I have somebody who does my newsletter for me. So knowing where I want to put my time and money in is also part of that self-care for our business. And so I'm glad you said that. I'm going to keep going back. Don't build it on the sand, get a strong
Yep.
foundation and put the systems in place. So what do you say to the person who, they're listening to us, and they're a few years in, and they're kind of like me, been in for a few years. I've got to change some systems because things change. I mean, now we have AI, we have all these things in
Yeah.
place. We have, look at when I started my business, when I started in the working world, I had a pager. I didn't have cell phones, right? And
Yeah,
now
I
I
remember.
got you got to add social media to it, everything. I'm like, oh, I'm sitting here teaching my husband. I'm having my husband sit with us on the AI that Matt's teaching us. I'm like, you got to learn this AI stuff. I can't teach it to you. But what do you say to the person? It's like going, all right, Kevin and Pearl, I hear what you guys are saying, but where do I start? I know I
Mhm.
need to put some systems in place, but where do I start? Because if I start something, it means I got to take time away from what I'm doing right now to get it started. What do you say to that person that's like on the fence about how they take that next step to get started?
Yeah. So I think you just said it, a business audit. Audit where you are today. What are you doing? Where do you feel you need some help, or you don't? You're just not quite sure. And that's when you come and you do like one of those assessments, right? You do an audit, see where I am today, what I'm looking at. Am I taking care of these things? Am I missing opportunities here? Really kind of going over. And one of the things is always, like I said, make sure you know your numbers, your KPIs, key performance indicators. That it is so big to know your numbers, and you'd be surprised how many people do not. And it's just, you've got to have a system. You've got to have things in place where you're really making trackable, results, and you're able to go from there. Because what I always say is, numbers don't lie. People do. Numbers don't. Numbers, numbers are there, and it shows it. You can't hide from them, and you really want to kind of, I said, go in and do that assessment and really see, where we are today. And one of the biggest pieces of what I do in coaching is the accountability piece. You talked about, Zach. We're not here to put more on your plate. We're here to take time off of your plate, take things off of your plate. That's the whole key. Like that Matt's AI, that's designed to take what, 5-10 hours a week off of what you do. Similar thing. We use a lot of AI in our stuff. You have to. If you're a business owner out there and you're not on top of AI right now, forget it. You have to be. It's not one of those things you like, the internet kind of came out and it's like, yeah, we'll see what's going on with that and whatever. But the AI is moving so fast and competitors are picking up on it. And scroll through your social media. Everybody's a guru, right? I'm going to do this with AI and we're going to do this. You have to at least know something about it. So I think Matt's course is invaluable to take as far as learning how to do that and what to do with it and how to use it correctly. But yeah, I would say really kind of talk to a professional, talk to somebody who understands all areas of the business, from finance to sales to marketing to all that, to see where you are today. And that's where you make the adjustments needed. And again, going back to what I said earlier, there's no silver bullet. It's small incremental changes in several areas, like that jumpstart 12 I had mentioned. Once we go through that, there's really 40 areas of the business that we go into. But we start with those 12 key areas. That's where we get the most impact at first, to really shift those, put that, that money in their pocket, get that there, clean everything up and really start getting those profits to go, to scale.
I love the audit. And I think, and the whole thing too with an audit is like, I think oftentimes we don't audit our business as often as we should. Because like you said, numbers don't lie, people lie, right? So we've got to look at those numbers and do an audit, every month on that. I'm married to a CPA and accountant, so it's like he's always like looking at the numbers, and it's like, oh,
Yep, yep.
it's like going. Sometimes I feel like I'm going down to the principal's office. Oh, okay, but I mean, I feel good about it, but still, they're never where you want them to be, right? And so and then I like what you said, that the accountability piece, that's so important, because oftentimes, and that's why I love being a coach, is so it's not so much that you can't do it. It's like having somebody to hold you accountable, having somebody to hold your hand, having somebody to say, hey, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing, this is how you could do it better, because we don't know what we don't know. And so to
Hmm.
beat yourself up over something you're not sure of, we shouldn't do that. So it's asking for the help is the big thing, auditing your business so that you do know where you're at. And then also, like I think you mentioned too, is like, so we align with our mission. What we're doing, is it still aligned with the mission? And if we need to make some changes, then we make some changes. It's so important. It's funny to talk, we're going to go back to AI for a second. I saw a thing the other day about using AI to really hone into who your audience is, but to hone into how you're running your business, like to help you schedule out your day. And this is something that I love about our Moxie group. And we're going to talk about what Moxie is in just a second. But this is what I
Mhm.
love about it because, like, Jeremy talks about it often is, identifying where you're at, what you're doing, and how your time is spent. So I literally went in. I'm like, okay, somebody shared this in a women's group I'm in. It talked about the prompts you can ask Chat GPT to help you schedule your day. So I took that and I dug it deeper. I'm like, I want to be on point, on time, like everything I'm doing. I want you to make sure that if I'm doing a task that I'm not supposed to do, you are to tell me to take it off. And I listed everything that I do in my day. I think Jeremy kind of talked to somebody in our group. I kept track of everything I did for like 3 days, and I threw it in there. And the stuff I came back with was like, wow, it was like it was so honest, which I laughed at because I talk about not using AI for a therapist, but I did use it for my auditing of my businesses, my timing, right? So I was like, man, I got to be careful. I said, don't use it for therapists, but this was for my business, so it wasn't like I had, I could have had somebody like you here auditing my business, right? But I wanted to know right away, and so it was really cool because the other thing it did too, I asked it to tell me, how did I say it? I think I asked it to tell me what time sucking activities was I doing based on what we've been doing together. And the stuff it gave back, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I see that. So it's so interesting when you stop and take time. And here's the thing, if you're listening to us, you don't have to have AI to do it. You can have somebody like Kevin to help you do it, sit down and walk you through it and look it over. So Kevin, when they work with you, what's some of the steps? I know we talked a little bit, like, how do they get started? Do they have to be local? Is it something they can do online
No,
with you?
no. Yeah, I have clients all over the country. And because a lot, most 95%, unless we're local, like you and I, that we just do it over a Zoom meeting. So essentially what we do is we call it, like I said, the jump start 12. If you have profit margins or profit of 10%, generally you can find a business 75 to $100,000 in additional revenue without spending an additional dollar on marketing or advertising. And it's really that simple. Now, obviously, if you're a startup business, can't find that money. But if you're doing, you're in a business, you've been doing it for a little bit of time, we're going to find that for you. And again, it's small incremental changes. It's not like, oh my God, well, if you do that by 60%, of course we're going to do that. No, no, we're talking 3 to 5%, depending where you're at and how you're doing it. So that's what that whole assessment comes out to. And then there's different programs that we have. We have group coaching, one-to-one, a whole do-it-yourself type of module-based program. So it's essentially where, like I said, where they are, what they need. But to get started, it would just be a simple assessment and just take a look at what you are, where you are, and oftentimes when you, at least after you meet with me and one of my team, you're gonna have that blueprint, graphs and charts and all pretty, and all the questions that you answer with those answers and where you're going to go, and at least you have a direction. Now most people will take that and put it in their side drawer in their office and not look at it again, much like a P&L. However, if you want help implementing that and do it quickly, and I always tell people, I'm like, you know uh, you can do it yourself, or you can try to do it yourself, but you want to do it in, you know, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, or do you want to do 2 or 3 years? Or, if you're not going to do it, it's like, well, what's your plan B? That's it. It gets people thinking like, well, okay, what am I going to do and how am I going to do it? Because anytime you have like almost like life insurance, they come in, they sell it to you. You're all, okay, my God, I need this. I have to do it. That life insurance person walks out of your house, that sense of urgency, that passion, that, yeah, I need to do this, goes away because life happens. It just does. We're all human. It is what it is. So it's something that you really want to take action on and commit to something like that. And what we do is that this is the kind of guarantee that we make. We don't do contracts. We don't do anything like that. What we do is like, hey, if you're not going to work with us, still, we at least need 90 days. We got to get to know you, look at the business, how it goes. It's just month to month stuff. But what we do is, our guarantee is we at least double your ROI, your whatever you spend with us. We give you your money back within a year. So if we don't find, if you whatever you're paying, if we don't double that for you, within our agreement time, you get your money back. It's just that we're just that confident, and we've worked with a lot of businesses that it works. If you do what we say and you implement what you need to do, and that's it. And a lot of people say, well, how does it take me 20 hours a week to do it? No, I mean, we have a position. So if you only have 1 to 3 hours a week, here's what we focus on. Some people are like, oh, I can do 15. We'll figure it out. but there's how much time can you put into it? Can you commit to it? And this is what this whole system does and analyzes and breaks everything out. It's super cool. You gotta check it out. But it's one of those things, and then people are like, yeah, well, I really didn't know all this stuff. So
So you brought up when you said something, have do it your own or have or you guys support. It that's like the third conversation I've had today about do yourself or get support, right? So let's talk about that a second because what you do in the system, like what you said, there is support there, and if you do everything, you're going to get a return on your investment. And then if you don't do, you've got the guarantee, with you guys, if you
mhm,
do everything, you still don't get that return, which I think is amazing. It's like a no brainer. But let's talk to that person who's sitting there listening to us right now with their cup of coffee, and they're like, yeah, 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 I can always do it myself.
mhm,
I mean, because I'm hearing this a lot, like even in my world of coaching. Well, I know how to talk to myself and I know how to, journal. And like, even I get off track. Like, I have to have somebody to keep me on track too in my business. So I
mhm.
have a coach, I have a coach,
Me
and I
too.
also I have my own life coach too. So it's like,
Mhm,
even as a life coach, I have a life coach, and so talk to that person who's sitting there and says, well, I'll do it yourself. Like, okay, I'll hire you, but I'll do it yourself. You know, what are some of the points where somebody should say do it yourself or get the help? Like, how do you guide somebody to be like, I'll do it my own or get help? Like, I bought a program, they can choose, okay, I can do it myself, Kevin, give me the stuff I need, or I hire you. what how do you talk to that person and help them decide? Because oftentimes, like for me, I believe I haven't been diagnosed, but I believe I have adult ADHD. So I know I can get what's called squirrel in a minute. So for me, I know it's like, I know I need accountability. I need somebody to hold me, hold my hand and hold me to being
mhm.
accountable. How do you talk to that person and help that person decide?
That is a great point you brought up. So how many online modules and courses are there out there that people buy and they don't finish? 87% failure rate on module based courses. For the simple fact is what you just said, accountability, right? Nobody's there to keep them going, watch them, monitor them. Like for example, for us, like if you work with us, we have the 12-week program that starts group coaching by Carl Bryan, some world famous coaches that teach on a certain thing, workbooks, scenarios, responses. It's about an hour on for the first 12 weeks, an hour a week. Right after that call, the next day we implement what we learn and we go over, answer the questions. So we're helping them hold their hand by doing it. So we have calls, they have assignments, they have things that they have to do to make sure that we're doing that. Because again, we're human, where life happens and things get put off and put off and put off. And the people that say, well, I can figure it out, I'll do it myself. Why haven't you done it then to this point? Why are you still where you're at for the last 12, 18, 24 months? Not saying you don't know how, but it's that whole hand holding, that help that gets you to that gets you across the line. People who take action, or a lot of people who take action, those ones that they're really excelling. They're getting things done. The biggest thing you can do is invest in yourself, especially when you're doing something like coaching or business coaching. That's a write-off. That's part of your business. You got to invest back in yourself. If you really want to grow, because you don't know what you don't know. And to your point, yes, I have a coach too. I need somebody who sees my blind spots. I can't see everything. So I just think it's invaluable that I think everybody should have a coach, a life coach, business coach, marriage, whatever it might be that they need. They're there to help as a completely outside third party view. They're not your spouse, your husband, your wife. A lot of times that can go horribly wrong because you're not my boss, you're not this, I've worked with couples who run a business, and that's a whole animal of itself. And Bobby can tell you all about that. So but that's another thing that we do is we like to get the partners involved, not just the husband, the wife, or whoever, or the business partners. We got to make sure that everybody's on board, because you can't have one person doing all this stuff and, well, what's going on over here? Where's this money going? And this other person doesn't do it. Well, oftentimes we're not on the same page. They're pushing each other. Yeah, we got to get this done, and so it's a totally different thing. But everybody's got to be on the same page. But again, it's about that. I always say, and it's not harsh, but I think it's true. If you can figure it out on your own, or you could have, then why haven't you? It's
And
pretty direct, but
it's very direct. If you can figure, yeah, why haven't you? And I think it's so powerful. It's one you said too about getting the team together, get everybody on the team. One of the things I love that I do as a mindset coach, I have a program that I do, and I come and I teach corporations with as well. And I've been able to go to places like City and do some of the training there. And you have to have the team involved. Like you have to have. It can't just be you. If you've got a team, you've got to make sure the team is involved and understands what the mission is, where you're going, what your goals are, and everything. And I love to come in and be like, well, is that person in the right spot? Because maybe they don't like what they're doing, but that's what you hired them to do. And if the job description looked like it fit right, but when it gets down to it, they're saboteurs that they deal with all day long, keep them from being productive. So what if we switch them around or took a task away? And, so I love to identify those things because it becomes really, really important. Because if you're going to invest in your business and you're going to have these people on board, you're going to invest to make sure, because I forget what the cost is to do a rehire, but the rehire is so much more than retraining or doing some time, time investment into, are they in the right spot? Do we just need to move some people around? My friend Carol, she does disc profile, and I love that because the personalities, and tie that together with what I do. It's a great synergy together. And like I said, yeah, I'm kind of glad my husband and I don't work together. It's tough enough him being my auditor, but I mean, he's amazing. But I think I could just see us butt heads, and I don't want that. But and I watched that. That was part of my parents' demise, that they had this business together, and my dad was let me just give all my free time away. And he didn't understand that, he understood, but he wanted to he did mobile repairs for RVs in California. So the snowbirds, and they'd come down, and he'd be like, oh, but they're older, they don't have a lot of money. I'm like, Dad, if they could pay somebody to drive their RV down here and park it, they could pay you to repair it. But he just, he wasn't grasping that. So it was hard for him. And that's kind of like you said, they needed somebody like Bobby and them to help guide them. So I love that's the self-care. I'm calling it the self-care for your business, because I think we forget that our personal life, we also do self-care business. And if we want our business to be successful and legacy left behind, it's really important that you do that. And it's interesting because my husband, he does sign installations. He does installs realtor signs. They put the property on the market, and his posts are vinyl wood looking posts. So they're, I mean, I can lift them. They're like a gallon of milk. But before our son passed, we're going to pass the business to Matt. And so now Matt's really good friend works with my husband. So I watch my husband, it's just the two of them working together. And I watch them talk about the business part, because if something happens to us, we're going to leave the business to Anthony. And so Chuck is now trying to teach him the other side, not just the what you do and the customer service side, but the behind the scenes, the numbers and everything. And it's interesting to watch my husband get frustrated, because he's still got that, Anthony, I love him to death, and he's listening to us. I love him to death. He still has that, oh, I'll get out of bed around 10, 11. Like, dude, you got to hit the ground running much earlier than that, So I watch my husband go like, oh, it gets frustrated. I go, Chuck, just meet him with him where he's at, just for right now, guide him into that, But he talks about that's not the plan A that I want for the business, because I'm going to hand him off. I want him to understand the ins and outs. So I'm glad you talked about too, like we addressed do I decide or not decide to hire somebody? Because like you said, you can, if you don't hire anybody, and I didn't realize 87% of those courses, you're right, just sit, don't open. And yeah.
Guilty. Done it.
Oh, I've done it too.
Done that. I got a couple of them sitting there.
But I didn't realize that the percentage. So it's just crazy.
It's high. Yep. It's very high. Yeah. Yeah.
So tell everybody how they, go ahead. What are you going to say?
I just want to go back to, I loved what you just said about the employee, and that's what we help do is, are they in the right role? Are they in the right role? That's why you come in and do an assessment. You mentioned the disc and all that. So that absolutely, that's, where are they? Do they want to be leaders? Do the employees maybe that you're having leaders really don't want that responsibility? You got to assess where they're at, because to your point again, you want to have them know your goals, and you want to know their goals, right?
Yeah.
That's how you build. That's how you grow. So I'm really, really glad you brought that up. Very important.
Yeah, it's so important. It's so important, to know those. It's just like in your own business as an entrepreneur, to know what your weaknesses are and where you need help, right? Because like you said, if they don't want to be a leader and you've got them in that role, it's like, they're not going to do it the way you want them to do it, and that affects everybody. So not just your business, but the business is the biggest part of it. So okay, so Kevin, before we switch, I want to talk about Moxie, because I do want us to mention Moxie, and I know you're one of the coaches in Moxie, but tell everybody how they can reach you, and they want to contact you, and we're going to put everything in the show notes as well, so they can reach out to you.
Sure. They can go, excuse me, so they can go to my website at www.boomin, BOOMIN, business solutions. So there's 3 S's in there, boominbusinesssolutions.com. Or they can call the direct at 978 868-4346. And what I'll do for the listeners who are here, if they want to reach out and get in touch with me, I'll do an assessment for them we just talked about for about an hour. See what we see where they're at, see what they're going to do, and we won't charge them for that. So it's just something that it will give them a good idea of where they are today, where they're looking to go, and gives them a better kind of hold of where they are.
That's awesome. What a great gift for our listeners. So you guys read the show notes, watch it, and make sure you reach out to Kevin, put everything in there to reach out to him. And so before we get ready, we're near the end of the show, but I want to talk about Moxie for a minute because that's how I met you. Moxie Mindset Tribe. I came across Jeremy's post on a Facebook post, and I was like, this sounds amazing. And I hopped on with him because the one thing with me, and you mentioned a network group, and I won't say their name again because they may not like what I say, but I struggle with getting in network groups that become cliquey. And I didn't want that because I'm at a point in my business. I don't want cliquey. I don't want drama. I want to get in there, work, do some stuff, have people that support, have people that, I can rely on. And so I met Jeremy. And the thing was, I loved it so much. I told a couple of my friends. One is Natalie. Hello, Natalie. And Natalie got right in at the same time I did, but I didn't engage. I had things come up. I didn't engage. And then Natalie called me out. She's like, you need to get your butt in here. And now like I've been engaging. It's been so amazing. But you're one of the coaches. There's 4 coaches that come at Moxie. But for those that are listening, if you are in a business and you want some support and you want growth along with what Kevin is sharing that he offers, and you want people that are going to be beside you as well as a great team, you got to come join us from Moxie, and we'll make sure we'll put some links in there as well. You can contact me and or Kevin about it. But tell everybody about Moxie because you are one of the coaches and what kind of your role is in with Moxie.
So yeah, Moxie is, to your point, it's we're very selective of who's coming in, how it's going to do, because we're building a different culture. We're breaking the norms, like you just said, the clicky and whatever. It's not just, I mean, it's about accelerating people, building them up, pulling people up to the next level, and really supporting them in several different ways. So my specific role is, of course, the profits guy, right? The profits, and Bobby is the more the relational shit, the relationship part of it. Justin is the mindset, physical fitness, all that. So there's different area, and Jeremy's also business in different types of thing. Jeremy owns, I think, 7 different businesses. So we all came together. And I met Jeremy a few years back in Cancun at a conference. And then we just kind of we hit it off. We clicked from there and just started talking to each other. And then he asked me to be part of the Moxie Tribe, which has been fantastic. And the group of people that we have in there now, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculously awesome. I mean, just you've heard the conversations going back and forth. We get like, oh, we're up on time. Let's go. But and the conversations continue outside of it, and the relationships that we met. But it's all about bringing people to the next level and helping them in all different areas. And everybody in that group, not just the coaches, has a they're an expert in something that they can help. And we all can lean on each other to help each other out and really grow and be there for support. Because let's be honest, entrepreneurship can be very lonely. It can be very, very lonely if you've been out there on an island and you have that support and be able to lean on somebody else for help or just to talk or whatever. We all have each other's links that we can, book a call if you need something. So I've never been part of a group like that. When Jeremy approached me, I'm like, I love this concept. I love this idea. And when he talks to us and he says we vote on people, we just don't let anybody, if they're not Moxie, they're not coming in, because we don't want somebody coming in that has a huge ego, that is not that thinks they know it all or whatever else. We want somebody that's to inspire, to lift us up to the next level that we all know that we can get to, but sometimes we all need a little help. And that's why I think what he's done. I think I'm not sure if you went to the retreat in Jamaica or not last year, but we're having another one next year. But just the connections that have been made in that group are unbelievable. And to your point, you can drop a link in and invite somebody to that group to try it out, to see what they think. Sometimes it's for people, sometimes it's not. But it's not one of these things like a local networking group where you got to pass referrals and do this and do that. And nobody's really, how do I say it? And I don't want to say not in everybody's best interest. They're in their own self-interest. I mean, we're all in our self-interest, but we're all, I believe, in this group about each other and bring us to the next level. So definitely a unique group. and it's growing, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, it's an awesome group. So if you're listening, I mean, I recently, a couple weeks ago, I had a situation with another group I was in, and I was having to address something, and I went right to Moxie. I'm like, okay, this is what I have to address, and this is what's happening, and which was really like taking me aback. It was just crazy. And then not only from the whole group as a whole, but then like Leona, she reached out to me, who's also been on the show here with us, and she gave me that pep talk before I had to go have that talk. So having those people in your pocket be like they're there for you to help and support you. It's just been amazing. So like Kevin said, if you're looking for something that's different, something that's going to hold you accountable, you're a higher level caliber of what you want for yourself and your business, then just follow the show notes and get the link and join us. We do Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
O'clock
um,
Eastern. Yep.
yeah, and I haven't. I just missed my first one last week. That was just an unexpected thing. But again, goes back to the 4 buckets we got to put together for our health. But yeah, so definitely make sure you join us, and shout out to everybody in Moxie that's listening to us today, because we know they're going to listen to us. And I think
That's
we've
right.
dropped almost everybody's name. I think we forgot Amy and Mo and who else?
Amy, Amy, Mo, um, there's another Justin in there that he comes in and out. I think that's
There's
pretty much all the
who's
regulars. The
the one who
regulars.
the other. I think she has a trucking company too, like
Oh, Matt.
Bobby.
Matt.
Matt,
Get Matt. Don't forget Matt.
Matt, and then no, the girl, not Renee. Why am I drawing? She's got long hair. Oh my
Oh,
gosh, I'm sorry.
Lindsay. Lindsay.
Lindsay. Yeah, I knew it was something with an L. Yeah, Lindsay. So
Yeah,
hello guys. Sorry we're messing up your names.
we got you. We got you all.
We got you all. But okay, so here we go, Kevin. We close out the show, as I told you, with our cards. They're called the Better Question, Better Life cards. These
Mhm.
cards are powerful because there's over 70 cards. You can pull it, meditate on it, journal on it, whatever you want to do. I'm going to shuffle them, and you're going to tell me when to stop, and we're going to read the card together and answer the card together. So here we go. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
All right. So your card says, how am I influencing others?
How am I
How are you
influencing others?
influencing others?
I like to think I bring a lot of positive energy to people. We help with mindset and things of that nature. Like I said back in the beginning of the show, live in all those buckets, you're going to have a pretty complete life. So yes, we do definitely get into business, and I help influence people with business and grow their business. But I also like to think I help in other areas as well. But again, just by helping people grow and grow their business and grow their passion, really get them back to that peace of mind. Again, that time, money, and freedom is why they start their business. So I think I feel pretty good about that. And that's why I love doing what I do.
And I'm going to answer because I think I agree with you. I see that being the Moxie a little bit. I've known you through Moxie and our different conversations. I see that about you. So I back you up on that one. And for me, one of the things that when people come to work with me, one of the questions I'll ask is if they've worked with another coach before. And then when they say yes, I'll ask them, well, why me? Like, you've already worked with a coach. Why did you want to come see me? And one of the things they always tell me is I show up as who I am online. I don't sugarcoat anything, and I'm very authentic. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to tell you something that's not, I don't live. And I'm going to tell you when my life is not doing great because of, whatever the situation. I'm going to tell you when it's going awesomely. So that's who I am. I show up my authentic self. And that's what I want for all my clients I work with and all the friends and anybody I touch. So I hope everybody's listening to get some of that from the show. I want to thank you, Kevin, for joining us and coming on board. And
Thank
I
you.
want to
Thank you
tell
for having
everybody,
me.
yeah, absolutely. And also, before we go, I want everybody to know you come into this world, you are a rough oyster on the outside. You got some work to do, as we've talked about here, whether it's on yourself or your business. But as you open up that oyster inside, you're going to find your inner pearl of greatness. And I hope today you go out and become the hero you're meant to be, stronger, happier, empowered, radiant, and original. Have a great day.
Love it.
All clean. Why'd it take so long?